When my kids were 3 and 5, my 5-year-old had a water accident. I had taken him to Union Reservoir here in Longmont. He was on the raft and started to get out a little bit. So I asked him to turn around and try to come back a little bit closer to me. So he was trying to turn around and he was having trouble. He was starting to panic a little bit because he couldn't turn around. So I started walking out towards him, and all of a sudden he just slipped off the raft into the reservoir. And it's not like what you see in the movies. He didn't splash around or anything. He just slipped right into the water. The lifeguard didn't see him, but I just didn't take my eyes off where I saw him. And he bobbed up briefly for a second, but he still wasn't doing anything to try to help himself. And then by the time he was coming up a little bit for the second time, I was there and I pulled him out. It was just very traumatic for both of us. But I knew that if I just didn't do something right away, that he would just never want to even get back in the water. And I called the very next day. Judy told me right up front that the lessons are not easy to watch. But I had told her, I'll be fine watching it because just having that scene etched in my brain is worse than anything that I would observe through a lesson here.
My grandchildren, who are now 8 and 10 years old, started in the program about when they were 18 months old. Adam was the older one, and he cried all the time. I was able to calm my grandson. I think even then Judy remarked to me that I was a mellow grandma, and that the kids were calmer when I brought them.
I found out about it as a mother. My child at the time was about 13 months old. Knowing what your child went through gives you a little insight into what someone else's child may go through.
Every time a parent hands their child over the wall to me, I realize how that parent is honoring me, with trusting me to work with their child. Judy's been teaching children to swim over 30 years. Through those years, Judy's amazing intuitions as well as her acquisition of skills continues on the wisdom of working with kids and the wisdom of teaching.
She has experienced just about every personality and situation that the different kids will show in the water.
The training is not easy, and it is not something that we simply learn a few rules or a few guidelines.
It's not something that you can do in a week or 2 weeks, or something that you can just hand somebody a piece of paper and say, go home and read this, this is what you're going to be doing.
It's a very complex process that we use because no child is the same. We are constantly having to understand, okay, what will work with this child? The nature of our work is one-on-one when we're doing private lessons.
Because we're teaching them in a private setting, we can individualize to each child. We can react to what they're doing and then change our teaching style a little bit if we need to fit what they need, versus being in a group where you have to keep things simple for the entire group and what works for most kids. But what works for most kids is not going to work for every kid. We know how to work with every child. There is not a child that will come through here that will not learn how to swim. Some of them are so scared and they don't even want to be around the water. I know that we're going to come over that hump. What I can't tell the parents is when we're going to go over that hump.
I love it when everything just clicks and they get it. And that's just so rewarding to see everything just come together at the end.
I think it also transfers over to just life in general, that they start to learn that there are a lot of things that they're going to run into in life that they don't know how to do. And it is going to require some work to learn to do it, but they absolutely can do it.
It's just a wonderful program we have, and I just love how personable we are with all the students and the kids, because we know all of our students.
It's just so enjoyable to me to know that I am a part of making people for the rest of their lives be, number one, safe in the water, and number two, enjoy the water.
It's just a joy and an honor and a delight to see them achieve what they can achieve.